this real quick. Okay. Look up here. If you have not. A little bit better? Yeah. Not that you shouldn't have saw that, but okay. All right. For those of you who have not turned your video into both places, which is a lot of you. All right. Now, first thing you're going to do, you're going to go to the actual assignment. If you did the commercials, you go to this one. Hey, I would be doing this if you haven't done it already. Now, okay, start assignment. All right, now look, see where it says upload file? You need to do that twice, okay? That's how you get into Canvas. Now, see, look, it says add another file. Oh, it's crazy. Then you go to the Google, go to your Google Drive, and it's crazy. You go up to here on the search bar, and I guarantee when you put in election, election project videos right here. You touch that, you'll see second hour. If it ever opens. Yes, if it ever freaking opens. There we go. Now, okay. Here we go. See, this is how it's supposed to be. Okay, Donald dropped one in here. Where have we been?
No, I just missed a class. I went to the library.
Did they give you a note or anything? Whose class were you in?
Oh, it was me.
All right. Okay. This is how you're supposed to name it. So if this isn't, this is Satna, so it's got your last name. It's got who it is, and then, all right. So is this both videos together or just one? Okay. All right. Okay. So, you made it up just one more video? Okay. All right. So this is whoever's doing this, who's got 1832. This is where you find it. You upload it into your website. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Okay. Yes. What? Okay. All right.
Do I have to do it under the video?
What?
Do I have to do it under the video?
What?
On the website.
Oh, no. Oh, okay. Website. Oh, guys, if you did a website, I gave it to you. I didn't have it. Okay?
So do we have to put it in the Dropbox thing?
You don't turn in anything. I already have it. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay? All right. Come on, creepy.
Sorry.
All right. So, does everybody understand that? So, I'm going to see a lot more files add up in here, right? Right? And then you do understand when you uploaded it, you hit the submit button. Everybody? So now, Danny, I know you did a website and it'll be on your website, but your video will already be on your website. go ahead and submit it here too. Okay? Now, I don't even think there's any place for you to submit anything on the other one.
That's why I was.
That's why I did that one. All right. Yes.
Should we have how do you have to make
Right here. And there it is.
Oh, right.
Type in election. And it'll pop up. We battery should. When you're done with it, no. Okay. Are you done with everything? Okay.
Oh, I didn't do the notes yesterday.
No, she's a little creep.
She's a little crazy.
The big creep. All right. Yes, dear.
Is it 2 pages? Is there 2 songs?
No, that's
Oh.
you're going to refresh. Yeah, you're going to refresh.
Actually, I'll do it on my phone.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, look at me. On, put your phones away, and once you're done doing that, you need to close your Chromebooks. All right. Now, tomorrow, we are going to watch a video that is disturbing. You're going to get an email home to your parents. And by disturbing, I mean it is very racially charged. The period we're getting ready to go into that. Now, what is going to happen is in a lot of those plantations down south, after slavery had been officially ended, the master said, at the point of a gun, nothing's changed. You're going to hear racial slurs. This is all meant to be historically accurate. It is done by the Tuskegee Institute. If you don't know where that is, it is a historical society run by African Americans. So this is meant to be very real. And it will make your skin crawl. It's supposed to make your skin crawl because you're supposed to be horrified with what happened. Does that make sense? Now, if it is going to affect you in great ways, because there's a lot of violence that was done to African Americans after. It's going to talk about the rise of the plan and everything. If it starts about you, you know, I will give you alternative activity down in the library. Does that make sense? Okay. I just want to warn you. You're going to get an email today. Your parents are going to get an email about the exact same thing. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. I just want to give you a heads up. All right. Okay. That's what this is here for. Okay.
It was warm in here yesterday.
It was very warm in here.
It felt nice. Yeah, it was good.
No, I thought it doesn't. I'm fat. I don't like to eat. Okay. All right. Now, so put your phones and Chromebooks away. Unless I specifically told you to do something. Someone would do it, maybe. Okay. All right. Phones away. Hiding it behind your Chromebook doesn't work. All right. Now, we have moved 100 years ahead. We have fought the Civil War. Now, what you're going to find when you do your peer reviews on Friday when I'm not here, and by the way, you will have Friday and Monday to do your peer reviews. After that, you're on your own. Does that make sense? I won't be here Friday. I will be here Monday. I'm sorry. On Friday, you will see me walking around the building, but I will be a crazy man because I'll be setting up to run 2 wrestling tournaments in 2 days, and I won't be a happy camper. So if you ask me a question, you're probably not going to get a good answer. I'm just telling you right now because I'll be a little neurotic. So just warning you in advance. All right, now, but what you're going to see is basically from the founding of our Constitution until the Civil War, everything they argue about. Okay, when you did your project, wasn't one of the issues in every election slavery? Noticing a pattern there? And they were both, one side trying to keep it, one side trying to get rid of it, and it only got worse and worse and worse until we came to the point of war. They fought a war. We're not going to go over that. We had that in 8th grade. Where we're going now is what happens after. Now, you have the southern states down here in red, which seceded, basically said, we don't want to be a part of your country anymore. We're taking our ball and going home, which, by the way, is illegal. You don't have the right to leave the union. Actually, I take that back. One state has the right to leave the union. Texas is a unique situation. Texas was its own country when it came in, so they have the right to leave again. No other state has that thing. So in South Carolina, they did not have the right. Now, the North, especially after Lincoln is shot, treats the South like they are a conquered enemy. At first, Lincoln didn't want to do that, but you'll see where it goes, especially when he dies. Okay, I just told you that. Now, the big thing is the emancipation of slaves, and what you're going to see tomorrow is that it does not go very fast or very well. Okay. And this is going to be a brutal time. Now, when Lincoln is sworn in the second time, it is obvious that the South is going to lose the war, the North is going to win. This is when they start putting through the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. What does the 13th Amendment do? It ends slavery. 14th Amendment gives all those former slaves rights. And the 15th Amendment comes along later and gives them voting rights. Okay. Here's the thing. Since the Constitution didn't tell states they could leave, it didn't have any plan set up for how to bring them back in. So the president and the South, obviously the North and South disagree on how this is supposed to happen. All right. Now, Lincoln's plan, Lincoln wanted to make everything easy. He said, okay, let's get past this. Let's go, let's become brothers again. He wants to reunite the states. As long as 10% of the people in the state would admit that they were wrong and swear loads of loyalty to the United States and sign off on the 13th Amendment, you're back in. If you ever see the movie Lincoln, this is what it's all about. Now, Lincoln was doing, in his mind, what was best for the country. You have a group of people in Congress called the Radical Republicans, who, led by Thaddeus Stevens, and he was very radical on the end of slavery. One of the reasons is believed, it is not proven, but believed that he was secretly married to an African American woman. So are his feelings on slavery and African American rights going to be a little bit different than everybody else's? Yes. He wanted complete equality. He wanted the southern states punished for slavery. He wanted the South to pay. Now, what they want is 50% of the people in the state to swear loyalty, and then anybody who was a Confederate could no longer serve in government. They had no right to have any power at any level. But Civil War ends. Lincoln gets assassinated by John Wilkes Booth, and we have a problem. And the vice president usually is a problem. Lincoln, when he ran for president the first time, had a Republican with him. His name was Harry Hamlin. Great guy. He agreed with everything Lincoln did. When Lincoln knew that they were going to win the war, the second time he runs for president, he picks a white Southerner to run with him, hopefully to unify the government. Did you get some people? Now, why is this important? Because this guy ends up being the president. And let me tell you this. I value to find a bigger a-hole than Andrew Johnson. He was racist. He was a drunk. He was a jerk. Twice divorced, so it could be keep a woman that, yeah, not a wonderful person. And this is the guy who's going to try to put our very broken nation back together. How do you think that's going to go? Awesome, right? Okay. All right. So he wants a lenient plan. He basically, in his defense, he actually wanted to do what Lincoln had set up. He said, look, this is what the guy wanted. I'm running his place. I'm going to do for him what I want. Now, his problem was that he didn't play nicely with Congress and the radical Republicans. All right. So the ex-Confederate states could rejoin the United States once they ratified the 13th Amendment, meaning they didn't have to do the pledge. And here we go. Now, look at this political cartoon because you're going to see it on your final exam. Look up here. You see Andrew Johnson. You see the Southerner who's got the Confederate thing on. And then you can't tell, but this is Jim Crow. Does anybody know what Jim Crow is? Jim Crow are the laws that come after where whites made African Americans' life very, very difficult in the South, and basically it was legalized racism. And they're all standing on the back of the former slave. Okay, now, you got the radical Republicans who are fighting against us. You have what Lincoln had promised when these people were free, that they would get 40 acres and a mule and basically have their own land. Very rarely does it happen. Now they set up the Freedmen's Bureau to do this. Not very successful. The army basically has to go down in the South and protect the former slaves and corral the former Confederate soldiers. The one good thing the Freedmen's Bureau does is start sending schools for African American children. Now, you get school enrollment. This is the white school enrollment. About 60% of the people in the country who are white went to school. Obviously, it was illegal to educate to educate slaves, so this is going to take off. This is the one success of the Freedmen's Bureau. I'm not going to cover that. Okay. You start having the institution of black universities. You see one right here. Does anybody know what the National Black University is in St. Louis? Very good. And if you go to Jefferson City, it's Lincoln College. They are the two traditional black universities. I'm sorry, Harris Stewart University or College? Doesn't matter. I mean, you get it. Okay. Now, the Freedmen's Bureau starts to fail because he has very Lincoln policies. He's very sympathetic to the South. He doesn't make them follow anything. Congress drafts the 14th Amendment to start guaranteeing the rights of the former slaves because the president's not doing anything to help them out. And, okay. And basically they go to war against each other. Now, you see a little article from the paper. There's Johnson, there's Thaddeus Stevens. They're lined up ready to fight. And basically, it tears the country apart even more. The radical Republicans passed the Congressional Reconstruction Act, which is very, very harsh. The president vetoes it, they override the veto, and it goes into effect. However, because he's the president, he's the one who gets to put things in motion. He doesn't enforce it very well. They set up military districts where they have a military governor, where they are basically ruled over. And this is the one time early on that you start seeing African Americans in Congress, in the Senate, as governors. African Americans are allowed to vote, and because the U.S. military is down there and protecting them, they are able to. Great strides happen very, very quickly. Unfortunately, when Reconstruction is over, it all goes away. Now, when the generals were appointed to be military governors, if Johnson didn't like what they were doing, he may be too harsh on the South, he'd fire them. And he violates what's called the Tenure of Office Act when trying to get rid of the Secretary of War, and they impeach him. This is the first time in our country's history when we have a president get impeached. He was one vote short of being removed. Now, what they impeached him for was basically being a hole. One of the charges against him that he would spit on the floor in the White House because he chewed tobacco, but basically for being an a-hole. So an 11-week trial, he was one short of being removed, and the one guy who hated him, who voted to keep him, said, this is going to set up a bad precedent if we get rid of the president. And then basically argued that he had not done what they said. Now, it doesn't matter because he's out of office, there's a new election, and the hero of the Civil War, Ulysses Grant, runs and wins in a landslide, and this takes care of everything. Reconstruction, he puts in place what the radical Republicans want. And I'm not going to go too much in this because you're going to see it tomorrow. 15th Amendment gets passed, and then African American men have the right to vote. And this is where you start seeing all the first black politicians. Literacy rates go up. Black families are reunited, marriage is legally recognized, and now black workers can make money in the South. While all of this happens, one of the things that happened during the war was industry was growing in the North, and industry takes off because they had produced all the stuff for war. Now they start producing things that everybody needs for everyday life, and they start making tons of money. This is our next chapter. And this is what happens at the end of Reconstruction. When Reconstruction ends and the military pulls out, you have former Confederates who are Klan members who would intimidate African Americans voting, and pretty much things go right back to normal. States are all readmitted. This is on your test. It's going to ask you what is the purpose of this picture. This is a former slave going to vote after the Civil War because of the 15th Amendment. And this one is a African former slave who wants to go get a job. You have the Klan, former Confederate stand there with guns, basically keeping him from doing what he wants to do, in this case, vote. Okay, we already talked about that. All right. Now, when the Klan could not get things, when Southerners could not legally or had the power to do anything to try to keep things the way they were, they create secret organizations because they had to go around the military that was trying to keep them from doing what they're doing. And basically, the first terror organization in our country's history is the KKK. And they are there to terrorize former slaves and anybody who sympathizes with former slaves to keep them out of positions of power. And if and basically white supremacy is what the was went after. This is when lynching started becoming common. If you don't know what lynching is, it's basically mob violence. If you have a black person who was moving up too much, getting too powerful, or getting equal, what? Exactly what happened. Emmett Till was a lynching. And unfortunately, this goes on from the 1860s. Well, unfortunately, in Mississippi, till the late 80s, 1980s. I did that one. Okay. Now, in the South, the South, which was at that time the Democratic Party, which had been, and by the way, don't try to work this into the parties switch on all kinds of issues all the time. And there were Southern Democrats, there were what we call Dixiecrats, there were all, but basically Lincoln was the Republican, the one who freed the slaves. And so when you have all these former slaves running, you have a lot of Republicans. But after Reconstruction is over, everything changes back and gets very conservative. If you look, here's where Reconstruction ends between these two elections. You can see basically the flip-flop of the two parties. And sharecropping basically was a crime against humanity. If you actually go down to southern Missouri in the Boot Heel, you can still see sharecropping still happening, where the white owner of the land rents it out to, at this point, former slaves, and they basically have to buy their supplies, everything from the landowner, and then when they make a profit, most of it is taken. It was very, very a bad situation because most of these former slaves were uneducated. They didn't know how bad they were getting screwed over. So basically, slavery just never really ends. And I talked about that. When Rutherford Hayes is basically sworn in, that they end Reconstruction. And here you go. Look up here because this one's on your test too. This is Ulysses Grant. This is the South. They're being burdened. They have to carry the weight of the North over a really road. And when Hayes comes in, he's plowing the fertile ground to the South and making them a new land. Not really true, but and this sets up Jim Crow, which you basically have. If you look down the South, you had white facilities and African American facilities, and they were not equal by any stretch of the imagination. And that's where we will end. Okay. All right. You're free. If you're having problems with the project, please say something quickly so I can get you uploaded, because I am going, if you don't have it in by the time you leave this class, it is late. So if you need help getting it uploaded to the two places, come see me now.